Well, we are here today, back again at another episode of The Intersection, at the intersection between technology and culture. I am very happy today to be welcomed with Paul Su, the CEO of Decasonic, focusing on the mainstream adoption of blockchain, Web3, and the Metaverse. Paul came from working in Silicon Valley on the venture end, where he was at the forefront of innovation in Web1 and Web2. He went on to be a product executive at Zynga, where he was in the gaming space. And now Paul has been in Chicago for a while. And in my experience, you're a fairly well-known person in the startup ecosystem. So when Anthony, your friend, introduced us, I saw the logo and I went, oh, these guys must be important because I see them sponsor us at tech events all the time. And
we're very active in the community. We try to evangelize technology in Chicago, and anything we can do to partner with other groups is always something we consider at Decasonic. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. Speaking of the Chicago tech ecosystem, what are you excited about it in particular, and what are you excited about trying to support?
Chicago is a city of substance over hype. That there are a lot of people who are building amazing technology here. We're just proud to be part of this ecosystem. A lot of talented people, and we feel that bringing talented people together helps accelerate that innovation. My wife and I moved here 5 years ago, almost to the day. Without a lot of professional networks. We were really embraced by the community at large here. For that, I'm grateful. There's so much about diversity, community, and relationships here in Chicago that just naturally fit into our family values. So Chicago has just been such a great ecosystem to meet people, co-build with people, and engage in great conversations like this, Matt.
Interesting. Well, then what brought you here from the Bay? Because it sounded like you had a wealth of professional relationships over there, and then maybe you said not so much when you first got here.
Innovation is diversifying geographically. Talent is everywhere. Decentralization of technologies is happening, and when you obsess about blockchain and internet, there is such a strong ecosystem here for that talent, whether it's digital assets trading, digital assets infrastructure, all the way up to use cases. Made the life-changing move 5 years ago to settle in Chicago, and it's been such a great decision in our life. It's certainly contrarian. Not a lot of people expected that move, but we haven't looked back. Chicago has really exceeded our expectations.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who might be skeptical of Chicago being the next big tech ecosystem or Web3 working out. So you are on the contrarian end in a lot of ways, but it also creates this upside of like, if you prove people that you know what you're talking about and that you've made the right bets, then boom, you'll be off to the races.
We underwrite 100Xers. To get to 100Xers, you have to be contrarian and right. It's easy to be contrarian and wrong. It's easy also to take it safe, be a consensus and right, but you barely get a 2x for doing that. And so, areas where you could think differently and build differently is how we think about the world at Decasonic.
Well, then what do you think are the biggest opportunities in Web3 today?
Web3 is the next generation internet. The internet is upgrading. If you're a believer or not, it's happening without us. Web3 is the next generation internet where ownership of digital goods is the opportunity. That's $1 trillion opportunity for the next billion users on Web3. And three major trends are accelerating that transformation from the current internet, all its limitations, to the future internet, or Web3. AI, generative AI, huge in terms of the speed of that content creation, the speed of creativity, the decentralization of intelligence in the internet. It's so much faster now to create creative works in the internet. So one, you have AI, and with the potential of AI, you also have the drawbacks of AI, of deep fakes or counterfeits, and therefore you have the counterbalance or the intersection of blockchain to validate real versus fake, to preserve royalties, to preserve the business models, to align value transfer for durable business models. So, the second big trend is blockchain, and you're starting to see these two interplay. We do a lot of deal flow and deal evaluation in this area, a lot of brainstorming in this area. And then lastly, the third major trend driving the next generation internet would be the metaverse. The consumer expectations around an immersive AAA experience, high fidelity 3D graphics, stuff that you play on your Xbox and PlayStation. Now those expectations are higher in the consumer applications, and they're driving a high fidelity internet that is a lot more immersive. So those two trends kind of present this opportunity for the next generation internet.
You've spoken before about how with all of this new value creation, there are also the kinks that we have to work through in the early stage before mass adoption that present themselves as all these issues.
100%.
So what do you think is that hill that we get over until it's more accepted?
A lot of adoption doesn't happen overnight, to e-commerce, a decade to hit mainstream adoption. Most technologies evolve over time. The old adage of overnight successes take a while. And at the same time, there are overinflated expectations that, technologies adopt with no kinks, right? They always have failures. They always have setbacks. Sometimes those setbacks relate to financial markets and bear markets. In the .com, you had the 01, 02 downturn. Today, you're in a bear market. You also have usability challenges. As you roll out new infrastructure, the usability may or may not match the speed of that infrastructure, and vice versa. Maybe the usability got ahead of the infrastructure. Streaming TV was an idea that got ahead of the internet bandwidth limitations back in .com. And so you do have that balance of technology and culture, which is one kind of balance, infrastructure and applications being another.
Speaking of the cultural acceptance of things, right now I guess we could say a lot of the Web3 and blockchain and like Metaverse and AI community is fairly like a tech demographic. So where do you see some use cases or applications where suddenly your grandma or mom and pop's Joe store is using this kind of...
For Web3 in particular.
Yeah.
We're investing along three bold visions at Decasonic. We're focused on the mainstream adoption of blockchain, Web3, and Metaverse. In blockchain, we believe blockchain streamlines how you pay, borrow, and lend, across geographies. If you want to port your Bitcoin, on a plane over to a certain country, you're not reliant on the current financial system. Web3 is reshaping how you shop and engage with brands. So Web3 loyalty is a big area. We are lead investors, board members on Forum 3, who's powering the Starbucks Odyssey NFT project. And so you get a sense of how global brands like Reddit and Nike are using NFTs and digital virtual goods to better engage with their consumers, their marketers, and their buyers. And then lastly, the Metaverse, coming from gaming, being ex-Zynga and, helping grow Words of Friends and Farmville, I see the Metaverse as the transformative technology that's shaping how we engage with our family, friends, and coworkers. It's creating immersive environments that, enable us to form different relationships online that might spill over to offline.
You've talked about making workplaces more playful or creating better digital worlds for people to feel more personal when they're remote. And that's so interesting to me. I'd love to get your 2 cents on like gamification when it comes to physical and virtual spaces and like making hard work still more playful.
Game people generally don't like the word gamification. No consumer likes to be gamified, But that's it. But we do like to have fun, or we like to blend fun with work. And when fun blends with work, it's not really work. It's just, hey, I'm dropping by Matt's studio and having a conversation. This isn't work.
Right.
It's a nice conversation. And so with mobile technologies and cloud and now video conferencing, with advances in sound technologies, camera technologies, you are starting to see a lot of the ability to transform how we relate to each other. It might be a hybrid relationship where you and I are talking in real life and we have people on the screen. Pretty soon those might be hologram devices. These days you look at my daughters who are 9 months and 5 years old. They're FaceTime natives. They don't think of it as audio only anymore. They don't think of the rotary telephone. It's natural to be in front of a camera.
Video integrated into everything.
And it's so much more immersive. And you read body language with the video. So you're starting to see that technology just transform how we communicate and form those relationships.
I'm personally excited about the hybrid remote work improvements. At the company I was just at for 2 years as a startup, our entire team was remote. And have you heard of Gather? It's I have. Little game. You walk around your character, you can go to the person's office, and their camera pops on the screen. We loved it. We used it the whole time. So have you worked with or invested in any companies or talked to people who are creating like remote spaces?
We are keenly interested in this area. We do have a few AR, augmented reality, mixed reality investments. Some of the current bottlenecks around mixed reality would be devices and compute power. You are seeing Apple with Reality Pro. You do see Quest 3. You do see iPads. You are seeing that infrastructure kind of upgrade to match the consumer expectations. And now, if you're a applications investor like we are at Decasonic, you're kind of imagining what the new kind of consumer experiences are. Is it digital twins, persistent, kind of friends, or other ways to scale your coworkers or relationships, as other work is being done.
Do you so correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like one of the biggest or most major hurdle is just the digital infrastructure.
At least, today in 2023, there are a lot of ideas at the application layer, a lot of creativity, especially now that you have generative AI, kind of doing a lot of multimedia, three-dimensional, forms of media. That the processing, the storage, and some of the bandwidth limitations are some of the bottlenecks right now. And we do have an investment in Morari that's helping better align with tokens. How do you present the service level agreements for the metaverse infrastructure? And as these technologies kind of mature at different stages, you might get better infrastructure with the lack of application.
Is it just all unpredictable, or do we have a sense of what it's going to?
I wish I had a crystal ball, of course. Right? I think history does rhyme, And because we are mainstream adoption investors of Web3, we do look at adoption patterns of, what's being overfunded, what's being underfunded, what are the bottlenecks, what is preventing kind of the mainstream audiences to get onto a particular technology.
You said building for crypto is a temporary solution, kind of going off of this idea of these technologies that are so valuable for anyone, but that are still within a certain target audience. Like, what is crypto building? What is crypto building for crypto for those who might not understand even what that means?
In any early innovation, you do get the early adopters building use cases and applications for the early adopters. You build for yourself. This is true of mobile when it first came out, true of .com. When I was in college, it was pre-browser. Like, you didn't have a browser yet. Andreessen was still building Mosaic, and this was pre-Netscape. And so, when you have that early kind of nature of a particular innovation, you end up in this situation of early adopters building for early adopters. We are very early for crypto, blockchain, Web3. I've been in blockchain since 2013, so about 10 years now, and you did get the early adopters building for early adopters, and the next phase of adoption will be, how do you have crypto builders building for non-crypto people, normies, or crypto curious, or wherever you want to describe the next segment, and to really expand beyond current adoption rates, you have to consider what are the next use cases for the mainstream.
What was your time in Silicon Valley like? What were you doing over there, and what's your backstory?
It was one of the wildest rides of my life. So grateful to have had the opportunity. So grateful to have moved to Silicon Valley in 1999 at the peak of the .com bubble, right? And so people like me chase into bubbles. I run into bubbles, not run away from bubbles. I'm not a skeptic. That's a fraud. That if you do the type of work I do, you're looking for consumer heat, and you run towards it. 1999 was a gold rush for .com. It was a transition from AOL over to the open internet. Had moved from the East Coast to San Francisco. About 6 months later, I was fortunate enough to get a job at the fourth largest first-time internet funds, Neocarta Ventures. Had a front row seat to learning venture capital, Silicon Valley style, how you build hypergrowth. Came across the who's who of now the internet titans.
Wow. You rubbed shoulders with Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz and all of them, or
Elon.
Wow, that's so interesting. Reid Hoffman and all. Wow.
And then some of the early innovators who didn't scale either. And what you come to appreciate is that success requires a lot of long-term hard work. Success also requires a lot of luck. And one or two missteps or one or two strategic decisions could put you on the right path towards a business model that's tremendously profitable, some network effects, some flywheel effects. My generation was the generation that, was inspired by Clay Christensen and disruptive innovations, how you built some of the modern day playbooks of what Ben writes about the hard things about hard things, or Peter Thiel writing about 0 to 1. These are the tried and true playbooks that generate trillion-dollar companies. And so honored to have grown up in that kind of environment for my first decade in .com. Then went to get my operating experience as an early employee at Zynga. And now you apply all the quarterbacking stuff to the field, and so such a great experience, kind of growing Zynga from early to post IPO, using data and the cloud to better systematically build product, to scale products. Yeah, just had the opportunity to then go get my operating experience at Zynga. Joined as an early employee, saw it through post IPO, was at the early days of data-driven execution, early days of the smartphone rollout and mobile gaming. Had a great 6-year ride there. When the things I'd done post IPO was bought my first Bitcoin in 2013.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of set my career on the next trajectory of Web3,
Interesting. I remember Farmville very well.
There you go. There you go.
You bought this Bitcoin, and that sent you on this new trajectory. What was the new trajectory?
The power of the blockchain technology to have ownership without a game maker like Zynga or Farmville dictating the economy just blew my mind. That we ran virtual currencies in Farmville and knew how to kind of control those environments, similar, not too dissimilar than the federal government today with the interest rates.
Interesting. That's an interesting comparison.
And now to say code defines the inflation or deflation rates in a virtual economy to help assess value for intangibles, that's a breakthrough. I'm a technologist at heart, and I remember looking at this saying, well, I need to learn more about it. Let's go dig in. In the last 10 years, there have been 5 bear market cycles. So crypto winter today is no different than 18 or 13 or 15, most innovations go through those cycles of hype and substance and recovery. And each time digital assets has grown bigger than before. You're starting to see the shift of value towards centralized entities, towards decentralized entities, towards self-sovereignty of asset value and asset holdings.
2013 is early. I can only imagine, were you working with other people who were early in the working on crypto?
Back then, crypto and crypto venture capital was 1/100th of what it was today. It wasn't large enough necessarily for me personally to make an all-in bet on that. So at that time, it was certainly nights and weekends, managing friends and family money, before I had bigger conviction in 2018 to make that life-changing move here for blockchain. And then we raised this current $50 million vehicle, a venture and digital assets fund for Decasonic in 2021. So there's really a lot of patience of 8 years of waiting until the right time, until the adoption of this asset class really, took place before, I had the professional conviction to bring on outside money.
Interesting. I feel like that gives quite a bit of credibility to what you're doing, because you're saying, in spite of people who have all sorts of skepticism or criticism, you've been a part of and had your focus and interest and enthusiasm locked on crypto and blockchain and all this stuff for a long time. So you've had reason to watch it go up and down and still believe in everything.
My life's work is around the internet, and crypto and blockchain is just, the third act of this, whether you call it Web3 or whatnot. But I'm keenly interested in the large opportunities for the internet. And certainly today there's also Metaverse and AI impacting the internet. But certainly, if you have a long-term view and a long-term perspective, that there will be other trends and other technologies that reshape how we engage, online. And I think that's a lot of my life's passion and the passion I hope to pass down to my daughters and to others in the Chicago ecosystem.
You had a cool quote that I read. Innovation is accelerating so rapidly, it's hard to be an expert in everything. So you have to pick your swim lanes.
Absolutely.
Elaborate on that for us.
Yeah, even in blockchain in particular, if you just knew 10% of what's going on, you become world class at it pretty quickly. There's so much innovation when you open up these technologies to open source code to the community who are going to plug into the internet, fire up a laptop and write Python code. When you have that kind of open nature of the innovation, it's hard to cover everything. It's hard to cover a lot of the emerging trends that may intersect the Cambrian explosion of ideas. You're seeing it with generative AI right now. It is exponentially growing because of the community involvement, because of the creators just coming up with wild new ideas. To be an expert in AI, it's hard to keep track of that exponential growth in knowledge and creation right now. It's similar in blockchain.
I don't know if we talked about like use cases yet, but what are some use cases you're excited about for the mass adoption of Web3 and blockchain? And
for the blockchain, I'm very interested in technologies that streamline how you borrow, pay, and lend. The financial infrastructure currently today has a lot of middlemen. Mm-hmm. And as much as there are regulatory compliant ways to streamline that P2P money transfer, international payments, these are use cases that really transform and decentralize the power of that financial system, with the intended goal of it's a more equitable financial system. In the metaverse, I think the upgrade towards fun, meaningful relationships is underway. I think media habits have changed, gaming habits have changed, how we engage, offline and online. When I was meeting my wife, Tinder wasn't a thing. You didn't meet people. You didn't get into random cars for an Uber. You went to a taxi. You didn't stay at an Airbnb. These digital technologies are changing relationships or trust, in a decentralized way, and that is life changing. It is society changing, and it's happening around us, whether or not we want to be a part of it or not.
Going to Decasonic, what is the work you guys do on a day-to-day basis between you and the rest of the people involved?
We are actively looking to partner with the outlier founders who have that winner mindset, the do or die hustle, and a vision that propels people forward. The outlier founders are building transformative companies today, companies that are creating life-changing technologies for the mainstream. My team looks at 100 to 200 deals a week, so we're actively scouring the globe for innovators who are building 100x opportunities. We have a commitment to excellence at Decasonic. We operate Decasonic like a hypergrowth startup. We lead by example, and we hope that attracts other founders to come join our ecosystem to create life-changing technologies.
You said you receive 200 deals a week, but then you said you also scour to find stuff. So are those deals coming from outbound efforts or people coming to you?
Always a mix of both. Always a mix of both. The best founders in the world are always sought after, and at the same time, we also invest in our reputation to be the preferred capital partner for the best founders. And I think that's the flywheel effect that we pay attention to. We operate with that integrity to drive excellence across our operations and hope that those actions translate into others who believe in the same thing too.
Where are people coming from?
Blockchain innovation is global. Although roughly a quarter of our investments are here locally in Chicago.
Wow, really?
Half my investor base, my limited partners are from Chicago.
Really? Wow.
For those two things, I'm tremendously grateful. At the same time, adoption of any new technology is always uneven. It's certainly a thesis of mine to say Chicago and this ecosystem is closer to the mainstream. So knowing how technologies adopt here in Chicago gives you a better perspective of what normies would use Web3 for. At the same time, digital assets and gaming is adopting faster in East Asia or Southeast Asia. Some of the financial technologies, the open finance technologies, DeFi is adopting probably faster in the Middle East and in Europe, where there's a little bit more regulatory clarity. Some of the P2P payments stuff is adopting a little bit faster in jurisdictions or in areas that have capital controls or mistrust of banks. So maybe Africa and other jurisdictions. We do have a global view around how these adoptions take place, and it's reflective of my operating experience, but also I think my multicultural heritage, growing up and being exposed to, how my immigrant parents did business internationally, how at Zynga I lived over in Japan and ran a team in Tokyo.
Really? Wow, how long did you do that?
About a year, right around March 11th, the tsunami. I was there during the tsunami, and it's great to get that multicultural international business experience, and you start to realize that as large of a market the U.S. is, that there's also a rest of the world that's just as large, if not larger. And so we are global investors, and we do pay attention to how certain geographies will adopt blockchain and emerging technologies to then apply it to wherever other geographies our companies are operating in.
Do you ever take any business trips to Japan for Decasonic?
I'm speaking there in late July.
Oh, wow. So cool.
I think a few government officials are speaking at that conference as well. I love Japan. It's just such a culture of pay it forward and community that I think I always learn a lot from.
The only other language I speak semi-conversationally other than English is Japanese.
Hajimemashite.
Nice. Dozo yoroshiku.
That's pretty good.
I spent a few very focused years trying to learn it. It's gotten rusty though.
Did you live out there?
Yeah. I went through an exchange program where I didn't have the choice of where to live.
Okay.
And they sent me to this small island within the Okinawa region. Okay. But it was a small little kind of like remote island, and I went to high school, and it was an interesting experience.
That's awesome. What other cities have you?
Tokyo, Kyoto, and some other one. Oizumi. Do you know Oizumi?
I don't.
Oh.
I don't.
It's Oizumi is I don't even remember where it is. Honestly, I feel ashamed, but it has a large Brazilian population. Okay. You know how Japan and Brazil have a good relationship?
They do. Have you been up to Niseko? Sapporo Island and.
I really want to go to Osaka.
Osaka is awesome. Yeah, Osaka is awesome.
Where are the favorite places you went?
Niseko is where some of the best fresh powder is coming off the East China Sea. I was there exactly on March 11th, 2011, when the tsunami hit. But it's such a great ski resort and some of the deepest, powdery powder in the world. And being a avid snowboarder, it's just such a lifetime trip to go up there and to go to Nagano and some of the other Japanese snowboarding.
Wow, you're an active snowboarder?
I love snowboarding.
Really interesting.
Been doing it for 2 decades. Yeah.
Wow, I hate the cold. I don't think I'm gonna go over there.
A lot of people don't like the weather in Chicago, but I love the cold, and I love Canadian cities. I love kind of mountain cities, and this is paradise for me.
Wow, that's interesting. That's so interesting. This weather is what I've been waiting for today. This hot 90 degrees.
way too hot for me. Way too hot.
Huh? Interesting. Where did you grow up?
Born and raised in Connecticut.
Interesting.
Right outside of Yale, and my immigrant parents had aspirations or dreams that I would end up going to that university, and had the luck and fortune to have taken some classes at Yale during high school. Did pretty well in them, and rolled over those grades into my undergraduate studies, and grew up on the East Coast, went to the West Coast, now in the third coast.
The mid coast.
The mid coast. Yeah.
Huh. Well, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time. What's next in the life of Paul, and what are you excited about for the future of Web3 or Chicago or Paul's personal life? What is the future to look forward to?
My lifelong pursuit is focus on the American dream. That so inspires me. This country can give everyone the opportunity to pursue their happiness and unlock their potential. I'm always inspired by kind of what sacrifices my ancestors did to create a better life for me. And I do think that's my duty to create a better life for my family, friends, and also the broader community. I've been lucky in life to have worked hard and developed a kind of interest and expertise in internet. I think the internet is rapidly shifting our living standards, and anything I could do to pay it forward and bring people together in Chicago or in the US or in the world to help create that technology for good is kind of my life's passion. It's something I seek a lot of pleasure in. I really believe there are new avenues to wealth creation and learning and unlocking someone's potential through this aspiration of the American dream. So anyone and everyone who kind of believes in this, please seek me out. This is what I think about day to day, and it's playing this long game of this really cool aspiration that our founding fathers set out to do.
Well, then, how can people watching or listening reach out to you if they're...
Paul Su on LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. I'm active on LinkedIn. I'm semi-active on Twitter. Same handle, Paul Su. But follow us also at Decasonic too.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much once again. And I'm looking forward to seeing how your efforts improve the standards of living quality for our collective lives.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.